Today on Phinside The NFL, an NFL coach in NFL terms kind of trashes the OBJ to Miami Dolphins move. We will talk about that. Also, are the excuses off the table for Tua Tagovailoa and the offense after how it has been built this offseason by Chris Grier? We will talk about that. Also, we will talk about the latest intel and notes coming out of the post-draft cycle because there are some things to cover. Man, we got a lot to talk about. We will even talk about Raheem Mostert and the running back room and the addition of Jaylen Wright. We got a lot to cover, a lot to go over. Even Tyreek Hill out here saying he wants to retire a Miami Dolphin, but hinting business could get in the way. So we got a lot to talk about, a lot to cover. Do me the favor, smash the like button, subscribe if you're new. Let's get into this.
Loses the football. Touchdown! Got it! You have got to be kidding me. Jaylen has a Dolphin touchdown. And he will score! Field down the near side, man open. Touchdown! The run from Tua Tagovailoa. Touchdown! He's going deep. He's going over the touchdown again.
Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan. Let's go! What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason. We're back here for another one. And I want to thank all y'all for taking some of your time out on your Tuesday evening to roll through. Appreciate each and every one of you for being here. We got a bunch to talk about, but before we do hop into that, I just wanted to program a reminder. Tomorrow I'll be live with Richmond and ball game at around 7:30, 7:45. On Thursday, me and Neil will be live at 8 o'clock because the NFL schedule is supposed to release on Thursday. So expect us to be live a little later on Thursday to coincide with the schedule release. Another one I want to talk about is my opening thoughts yesterday. And listen, I got very few rules on this channel, right? The rules you get will get you muted or blocked for are simple. If you come out here and start, name calling and cussing, cussing, you're probably gone. All right. I've already got filters on the comments where if you make comments like that, I don't even got to press anything. They get filtered out. Okay. That's number one. Number two, and it's the same as Twitter. If you come on this channel and you argue with people like, I don't know if I have a guest on who's put in all the work, but you're out here listening to Mel Kiper, Daniel Jeremiah, or Louis Riddick, and you're using other people's opinions to formulate your own, and you're arguing with the people that put in the work, you're probably not going to last very long. All right. And listen, the last one is, and I've always told this people, don't tell me how to run my channel. Don't tell me how to run what I run. Okay. I built this platform. I built credibility behind my voice. I put myself in the position where, I can talk about other non-Dolphin stuff on the channel if I want to take 20 minutes out and talk about it. So don't anyone out here who ain't doing anything come out here and tell me how to do something that I'm doing better than y'all. Okay? It don't work like that. So I want to make that very clear. Okay? That goes for Twitter. Those rules go for Twitter. Those go for YouTube. And those rules have always been in place. And those rules will always be in place. All right? I got zero patience for those kind of people. All right? So let's get that out of the way. Beyond that, listen, how's everyone feeling, man? How is everyone feeling? Shout out to Knight. He gifted a membership that B Show 58 got. I'm going to let y'all know. I got my 3 takes is going to be coming this evening. And again, we're going to be talking about a few interesting things that y'all are going to want to pay attention to with that, all right? So I'll have a written version for channel members that'll go under the community tab. and the video version will go on Patreon. But expect that to come tonight. I had a bunch of stuff come up today, and I was actually going to do it this morning, but I just didn't get around to it. So you're going to want to be on the lookout for that update. That'll be coming to all y'all tonight. So I appreciate all y'all. And just a reminder, Friday I leave, but I will have content for y'all while I'm out of town that will be dropping. So I will not be leaving you high and dry. Don't worry, I got my people. I got all y'all. Don't worry. Man, so how are y'all feeling now? Like, we are officially, on the 5th day removed. And the question that's coming, right, is the question that's coming. And is what's going to happen with that? We're going to talk about OBJ a lot today, but what's going to happen with that wide receiver room? Are the Dolphins going to carry 7? Are we going to get back to the years of where we were carrying 7 in the Flores regime? What's going to happen? Because I'm going to tell you right now, there's some locks, right? Tyreek's a lock. Waddle's a lock. OBJ's a lock. I'm telling you, Malik Washington's a lock. Trust me on that. He's a lock. Berrios is a lock. That's 5. Now you got River Craycraft, Eric Izakama, Tahj Washington, and whoever else you want to name battling for 6 and 7. I know Cookmaster D says you don't need Berrios, but I think Berrios sticks, bro. I really do. Especially with the return stuff. I think Berrios sticks, man. I think River Craycraft is the one that's in trouble, and Eric is a comma. If you want my honest opinion. Yeah, I mean, unless the Simmons signing happens next week when I'm not in town, I will be live on site with that. Don't worry. Yeah, I mean, who's displacing him right now? Craycraft ain't going to displace him. He offers you more versatility with the new kickoff rule. Who's going to displace him? Eric Izakama is further from a lock than Berrios. So, I mean, like, I don't know. I think the 6 and 7 spots are what's up for I think that's what's up for debate. I just don't see him getting cut. I really don't. Especially what you saw what he did with targets early on, right? I really don't see him getting cut. Now, right now, if you were to cut him post June 1st, you take on more dead money than cap savings. You take on $1.2 million in dead cap, and you only save $900,000. Now, if you trade him post June 1st, okay, you only take on $450,000 in dead cap, but you save 1.6. So you'd have to trade him. That would make the most sense, right? That would make the most sense for Braxton Berrios. But is anyone going to trade him for him? I don't think so. Right? Whereas, I mean, look at this. You could cut River Craycraft right now and you take on no dead money. Same thing happens with a cut post June 1st. You save all $1.1 million with River Craycraft. All the money gets saved with River Craycraft. You take on a bigger dead cap hit than a cap savings if you cut Berrios. Hill, Waddles, Berrios, Easy E, 2 times Washington. Bro, where's OBJ? Where's OBJ? So you think we're carrying 7, those guys in OBJ? It's a real interesting conversation, man. That's going to be one of the best battles to watch. That is going to be one of the best battles to watch. It's going to be Craycraft, Izakama, and Tahj Washington as it stands. Because do I really, listen. Am I really expecting Anthony Schwartz to win a job? No. I'm not. OG Barry says, I think you're basically saying what we all feel. Right? I love Craycraft because of the work ethic. but most likely he's gone. Hope he makes the team. I mean, I think we all respect the, IQ and the work ethic he has and the fit he is in this offense. But when you sit back and you examine the situation, See, and I would agree with you, right? I would agree with this 110%. The problem is, Berrios and Eazy-E both have roles beyond depth receiver. We can't speak in absolutes with Eazy-E like that. We can't. Izukama hasn't been able to stay healthy. I don't see it. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think this is Durham and Jonnu Smith's room. I don't see the fascination with Fortson. I'm not gonna lie to you, bro. I see the athleticism upside, but I don't see a difference maker. Knight says 3 QB, 4 running backs, 1 fullback, 7 wide receiver, 2 tight ends, 9 offensive linemen. Damn right you threw the fullback in there. Don't forget about that boy Alec, huh? Now, I do see 3 tight ends. That's, I do see 3 tight ends. I don't think they're going to carry just 2. He's the Tanner Connor of wide receivers. Oh, boy. I actually haven't had a chance to watch it. I ain't going to lie to you. I will, though. I will. Yeah, they're not going to carry 3 QBs. You know why? Because of the emergency spot, right? That new emergency rule. So you're only going to carry 2 QBs on your roster, but you'll have one as an emergency that doesn't count against your 53, right? So that's where I would switch Knight. Instead of 3 QBs, I'd take 2 QBs and 3 tight ends, right? But it's technically the third QB is going to be around the emergency quarterback, right? That's what's going to happen. So, and I don't think the UTEP quarterback is going to threaten Skyler. So now you're going to see some stuff, before the pads come on where you're like, oh, this kid looks like he's got a shot. Trust me, believe me. Talk about a guy with terrible decision making that makes you facepalm. So, we'll see. We'll see. So, let's see how it works out. It's interesting. I mean, it's just like the running back room. They basically are hinting we're going to take 4 running backs. It's going to be Raheem Mostert, Devon Achane, Jaylen Wright, and of course, Jeff Wilson Jr. probably is going to be our rotation. Chris Brooks may get put back on the practice squad, while Salvon Ahmed, I mean, the writing's pretty much on the wall. Right? BX, they already came out. We read an article yesterday from Barry Jackson. It ain't going to be Brooks, bro. It's going to be Jeff Wilson Jr. Signs are they aren't cutting him. Barry Jackson basically laid that out for us. So, we'll see. Now, if Chris Brooks has an unbelievable training camp, then okay, let's have the conversation. But that's the one thing I can say about McDaniel that's good and not good. He looks out for his guys, man. He definitely looks out for his guys. Even to the point when he needs to let go, he keeps looking out for him. Well, I think it was because Lemony. I think it was because the draft hadn't happened yet. They didn't think. Everyone thought Jaylen Wright would be gone in the top 75 picks. No one thought he'd be there at 120. I think that's what you ran into. Exactly, brother. Exactly. From the coaching staff to the players. Look at Salvon Ahmed. Guys, where did we get Salvon Ahmed from? The 49ers. Who was the run game coordinator when he got cut in practice squad? Mike McDaniel. Right? Mike McDaniel and Shanahan brought Salvon Ahmed in. What was the first move Mike McDaniel did here in 2022? They gave Salvon Ahmed a 1-year deal as a restricted free agent. People don't even realize the Salvin Ahmed tie. We keep saying, why does he keep coming back? No, we just answered our own question. So, I don't know. They trust their guys, and they like trusting their guys, and they stick with the guys they trust. That's all I know what to say. That's literally it. It is what it is. So, let's get into some stuff here. All right? Let's get into some things here, all right? Let's start off. Let's talk about Tua's contract. Because Joy Taylor and Emmanuel Acho said some interesting stuff on Speak. Now, I'm going to play the audio I've attached to screenshots from the segments. I'm going to play Joy Taylor's, and then we'll play Emmanuel Acho's. But let's start off with Joy Taylor's because that's how it went, and then Acho was the next one to go. The reason why we got to cover this is because Joy Taylor said something very interesting. And everyone knows there is no Joy Taylor slander on this channel, you know? Listen, you know? Joy Taylor, that's my girl. Everyone knows that's my girl, man. So, to see the flip she's had on Tua over the last year, all she had to do, what did I say? All she had to do was get away from Colin Cowherd, and look at how much it's changed. That makes me wonder if Colin Cowherd was feeding narratives. I'm being honest with you. I'm not even being a conspiracy theorist. I'm being honest here. I wonder if he was, because ever since she left the herd, all of her takes on Tua have been complete opposite. It feels like now we're hearing more of what Joy Taylor thinks and feels. I'm just saying. And what did she say? She said Tua should be the highest paid quarterback. Oh boy, this will stir people's pots.
Yes, the Dolphins should make Tua the highest paid quarterback because Tua is the next man up, and that is how it works. He will be the highest paid for however long until the next guy that's going to get paid gets paid, and then they will be the highest paid. And we do this every single time someone who hasn't had a bunch of postseason success gets up for their contract, or we have questions about them in any way, or their ability to stay healthy, or any of these things, which are all fair criticisms of Tua because that is what has happened. But he is an extremely accurate quarterback. He had a very healthy season, was healthy all season last year, put up great numbers, career highs in yards, 4,624 yards, 29 touchdowns, 69.3 completion percentage. He did what he was supposed to do in the regular season. Mm-hmm. They've gone to the postseason back-to-back years. The last time that happens was 1997 to 2001. That was a long time ago. 97 was the year another Taylor was involved with the Dolphins for the first time. So it was a long time ago. And, you know, we just talked about the Cowboys and how quickly things can fall off, and we don't think that will happen. Well, the Dolphins know very well what it's like to go through quarterback after quarterback after quarterback and look for a quarterback and draft a quarterback or sign a quarterback or have a quarterback be injured. It is an exhausting experience, and they don't have that with Tua. They have stability with Tua for the first time in a very long time. He put up great numbers. He answered the question about whether he was going to be healthy. Here's what's going to have to happen for the Dolphins, though, because we saw what happened in the postseason. Win the division, because you need home games, okay? Mm-hmm. You are not trying to go in the cold and play in the postseason if you make it to the postseason. No more. Okay, we can't have that. So this is a very interesting year for the AFC East. We have a lot of questions about what the Bills are going to look like. What is Aaron Rodgers going to look like with the Jets? We're still unconcerned about the Patriots. But this year, the AFC East feels wide open. I think you pay Tua, you get situated, and go and win the division and try and make a run in the postseason. But, yes, they should pay him.
I mean, you know, listen, not a chance we should pay Tua the highest QB. I don't agree with it either. Like, I don't agree. I'm not going to say she's making the points the agents are going to make. That's exactly what she's making. She's making the points the agents are going to make. That's all. That's all she's doing. She's making the points. That's what the negotiations are going to be. You know, everyone wants to call this stuff hollow numbers. I've talked to y'all about this before. That's nonsense because this stuff gets used on both sides in negotiations. Either a team, you underachieved expectations, or an agent, hey, we led the league in so-and-so. So, yeah, these numbers are not hollow because they get you money. They get you paid. So, let's say that. Let's start off. That's Lamb is my surprise cut. I think Lamb stays, bro. So, listen, you know, she ain't lying, but I don't agree with her. Let's put it that way. She ain't lying, but I don't agree with her. I don't think he should be the highest paid guy. Now, she is right on the flip side. Also, man, this is why I talk about how a lot of these fans must not have gone through the struggle we've gone through the last 20 years looking for a quarterback. Tua was the first Pro Bowler to wear our colors at that position since 1995. Almost 30 years. He was the first quarterback in Dolphins color to lead the league in passing since Marino. The last couple of years, we've seen single game and season franchise records from Marino fall by their wayside and be replaced by Tua Tagovailoa. The notion people try to paint that he's trash or he's not good enough is absolute nonsense, because he's literally doing stuff we haven't seen in over 30 years of position in Miami. So, do I think, now, if he would have been doing this for 4 years, like if we're talking like he was always vying for league leader in passing yards for 4 years, and we were going to the playoffs all 4 years, I would be sitting here saying, yes, you make him the highest paid guy. 110%. But I only saw it for a year and a half out of 4 years. The other 2 years he was dealing with terrible personnel around him, from players to coaching, plus he was injured himself. And Tori's right. He did everything he did last year with the 31st pass block win rate. 110%. 110%. Darth has got to pay him $1 more than Herbert and we're all set. You ain't lying, huh? You ain't lying. And what's crazy is, like, this is why it's dangerous when people saying, you know, Juggernaut's nailing it. This Dolphins organization and fan base needs to stop acting like they churn out Pro Bowl QBs every other year. Just pay 2 weeks our franchise. Here's the other thing. For all you people that say, hey, play on your 5th year. Hey, play on your 5th year, right? Guys, Aaron Rodgers is recovering from an injury that Marino had, was about 9 years younger from, and never looked the same after. Okay, for all of you guys who have actually watched the Dolphins since Marino was around. Marino had the same injury, but he was about 31 when he had it. He was not the same after it. Now, I'm not saying he wasn't good, but you could tell he was not the same. This guy had it at 40. I don't buy the Jets as much as people want to try selling me the Jets. I'm sorry, I just don't. Like, sorry. The Patriots, that's going to be a disaster. I can already tell you right now. The Bills are in the weakest point they've been at since Tua's arrived here. Now, Tua's only beat him once, but in that year in 2022, when he did beat him once, he did enough in December in Buffalo where we should have beat them twice if Josh Boyer didn't let us down on that 3rd and 17 and then giving up a touchdown on that drive before the half ends. And if Tyreek or Sherfield don't drop the touchdowns in the first half Tua put in their hands, we win that game. So we were on the verge of having a sweep one of these years, but people, you know, the same people who say Tua could never be a franchise quarterback, the same people that said Tua could never do all the things he's done yet, they don't talk about that. They don't talk about how Tua was lights out in a game. They all told y'all he couldn't play in the snow. Now then you bring up KC. Okay, well, it was minus 29, but it was different than that. You had 27 mile per hour winds. Our game plan was trash. Why are we throwing horizontally behind the line of scrimmage with a touch thrower when we were going more vertical and outside the numbers and he was forced to drive the football? Tua was making the throws. That was poor adjustment to a poor game planning. That's what that was. And then a poor execution by our offense on top of it. Okay? But I'm laying it out here. Everyone was worried about that snow and that cold in Buffalo in December, and Tua put on Tua was arguably the best player on the field. Just saying. So I see what she's saying. I understand her point, but I do not agree. Tua Tagovailoa has not done it consistently enough for 4 years to deem being the highest paid guy. If he had the last year and a half, if we've seen from 2022 to 2023 from day one, I would be sitting up here and saying, yes, I agree with this. But we've only had a 1.5-year sample size of that type of play, top 5 quarterback play. And only a year out of that 1.5 years, he's actually stayed healthy. So that's the whole reason why it's a 1.5 years. It should have been 2 seasons. He was in the MVP conversation for the first half of 2022, and then he was in the MVP conversation in 2023 up until the Ravens loss. So I agree. Has he played at an MVP level the last 2 years? 110%. But he hasn't done it. 1 year of a full start isn't enough. So, but he has earned a new paycheck. Now, here's what Emmanuel Acho had to say on the situation. And look at the graphic, too, that I freeze frame for you because this is the audio as well.
You should pay him because you have to pay him. Tua is the most important piece in this Jenga game that the Miami Dolphins are playing. Everything is already built around Tua. So if you don't pay Tua, then you got to get rid of McDaniel and everybody else because the offense was constructed for the quarterback that Tua is. He's a rhythm-based quarterback. He's a timing-based quarterback, and he is an accurate quarterback. Let's go into more nuance. Go back to the 2013 Washington coaching staff. You got McVay. You got LaFleur. You got McDaniels, you got Bobby Slowick, you got Raheem Morris. Now look at the quarterbacks that all of those individuals have. Brock Purdy, Garoppolo, Stafford, Tua, Stroud, Penix, Cousins. None of those quarterbacks are playmakers, but what they do an incredible job of is getting the ball into the hands of the playmakers. That is the tree from which McDaniels reigns. All of those coaches are very similar. Their quarterbacks aren't playmakers outside of maybe Jordan Love. He has a little bit more juice with his legs. But all of the other quarterbacks are accurate, timing-based, ball-out right now QBs. That's who Tua is.
And good
so
processors.
though you might not like Tua for your team, Tua is the perfect quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. Thus, Shady.
And this is what I've been trying to tell people. People out here trying to say, oh, this isn't a timing-based offense. It's just built. No. Look at the tree. Emmanuel just laid out. Look at the tree. All of these guys are looking. The biggest arm on that is Stroud or Stafford. Stafford has like a top 5 arm. But they're not. They're looking for timing, anticipation, ball placement, and accuracy. Things where Justin Fields struggled in. Things where Michael Penix struggled in. Right? Because why? Those fundamental things, those intangibles, are part of the core of all West Coast offenses. That's why that's why everyone's so blown away by McDaniel, right? West Coast offenses are known for being what? More horizontal than anything. And look at the vertical aspect he's added to it. That's why everyone's so impressed and so blown away. And when you're going horizontal, the timing throws, the anticipation, the processing, the accuracy, those are what get highlighted. So it's not just a McDaniel Tua offense thing. This is A, what a West Coast offense is based off of, but B, even more stressed are those intangibles in the Shanahan tree, as clearly just shown right there. This is why Teddy Bridgewater came in, was not as effective as Tua Tagovailoa, right? Even Jacoby Brissett would come in when they were running the RPO offense. What would happen? Jacoby Brissett would look out of sorts if he dropped back. There was one play I'll never forget. I believe it was either against the Houston Texans or the Colts. And we only had, it was an RPO, but the problem with the pass option was there was only one pass option, and it was a bubble screen on the left to DVP. Brissett made the wrong pre-snap read, should have checked into the run, checked into the pass. Then when he checked into the pass, it was taken away right away off the snap, and the guy was a deer in headlights. I'll never forget it. He couldn't even run it as efficiently as Tua. Tua's processing, I'm telling you, you hear Mike McDaniel talk about it. You hear him talk about it over and over again. But you don't even have to take his... When you hear Darrell Bevell talk about it, listen. Right? I told all y'all when they brought in Darrell Bevell, this was that offseason. I said this is one of the best player or coach offseason signings. And what has it turned into? Look at what he's done with Tua Tagovailoa. Look at what he did with Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson had a top 5, top 10 offense every year with them. MVP Russ under Darrell Bevell, and Russ has never looked the same since Bevell left. And you listen when Bevell talks. Bevell's praised Tua for his pre-snap and post-snap processing ability, calling him one of the most efficient and fastest he's ever seen. This is a guy who's been around Brett Favre. Brett Favre loved him so much, he followed him from Green Bay to Minnesota. Rivals. He's been around greats. So when he talks, you listen. Acho's right, man. 110%. 110%. Now, let's shift to some OBJ stuff. Let's start off with the question I got to ask all of you. We got to start off with this question, then we're going to go into some info, and then we're going to go on to the flip side. We're going to look at two things. We're going to look at the positive aspect of OBJ and the negative aspect of OBJ, all right? So I got to ask you guys, with OBJ being added to this offense, with your top three receivers now being Tyreek Hill, Jaylen Waddle, OBJ, with your top two tight ends being Durham Smythe and Jonnu Smith, with your top three running backs being Raheem Mostert, Devon Achane, as well as Jaylen Wright, are the excuses over for McDaniel, Tua, and the Miami offense? Now, this is a tricky thing because by bringing back Isaiah Wynn and Teron Armstead, they're setting themselves up for the offensive line could be an issue again and could be the context of why things might not go smoothly, along with Liam Eichenberg at right guard and Driscoll battling at right guard. Like, when your only certainties right now are Aaron Brewer at center and Austin Jackson at right tackle, that's a little troublesome, right? So, but let's throw that out there. The reason why I asked that too is this. This is a chart that came out yesterday. All right. Now, what you're looking at here on this graph is you are looking at rankings from PFF. And this is a supporting cast ranking in terms of average team PFF rush, receiving, pass blocking, and run blocking grades. Basically everything except passing grades, right? And this is over the past 5 seasons. Now, look down here. Go down and look right under the Bears and right above the Cardinals, you'll see the Dolphins. Okay? Now, the Dolphins, if you look here, right? The Dolphins in 2019, 32nd best supporting cast. In 2020, 23rd. In 2021, they had the 31st best supporting cast. In 2022, McDaniel's first year, they had the 13th. And last year, they had the 4th best supporting cast. That's why I mentioned those names, ladies and gentlemen. Jonnu Smith is now added to this. Jaylen Wright is now added to this. OBJ is now added to this. And this is basically with the same line. Remember, they had the 4th best supporting cast. And this is basically almost with the same offensive line. Just Robert Hunt's gone. So they've had more additions to this offense than they have had subtractions from a starting standpoint. Because Aaron Brewer was a starter, swapped out for Connor, right? Now Eichenberg's a backup. They're really swapping in to start, potentially. Same with Jack Driscoll at right guard. Isaiah Wynn was a starter before he got hurt. Teron Armstead's a starter before he gets hurt, etc., etc. OBJ's an upgrade over Cedric. Jaylen Wright's an upgrade over every running back behind Mostert and Achane combined. So you got to think this supporting cast number is going to go up from 4. You got to think this is going to go into top 3. So I ask again, are the excuses off the table for this offense? I think that's a legitimate conversation to have. I really do think that's a legitimate conversation to have. And I think it's an interesting conversation to have. Now, the context, and I agree, the context could be the offensive line. But the thing is, they're setting themselves up for that. And, you know, you got, what Omar Kelly said, right? Omar Kelly put out this article. OBJ is the finishing touch to a Miami Dolphins offensive makeover. The statements were bold, braggadocious, and matched the Miami Dolphins' latest roster move. It's about to get ugly in Miami, Tyreek bragged with a cheesy grim emoji at the end of a social media post he authored hours after his team agreed to terms with Odell Beckham Jr. on Friday. The Miami Dolphins all-pro receiver has changed his profile picture on X, the social media platform formerly known as Twitter, to an image of Chris Greer, the general manager, providing a cheesy grin of his own. Hill was seemingly taking victory laps celebrating the enhancements Miami made on an offense by adding Beckham, a three-time Pro Bowl talent. All-pro cornerback Jaylen Ramsey used his social media platform to remind Beckham about the championship run with the Los Angeles Rams. The talk has again turned bold because Beckham's signing, which hasn't become official yet, could be viewed as a finishing touch to an offensive makeover. What is Mike McDaniel cooking up? Last offseason, head coach McDaniel committed to balancing Miami's offense, which he didn't really in the end because of injuries, right? Improving the running game because the 2022 team was too pass game centric, and it left the Dolphins with an imbalance. Miami added Devin Achane in the third round of the draft last year, upgraded Butch Berrios as the offensive line coach, and the Dolphins finished 2023 with the highest per yards per carry average and the sixth highest rushing yards per game average. But where he's got to commit is in the red zone. McDaniel, who came to the Dolphins with a reputation as a run game specialist, had finally flexed his expertise. The offseason, the Dolphins seemingly put the offense's focus on elevating the talent level at tight end and balancing out the passing game by improving the number 3 receiver spot. Both were staples of the program McDaniel came from in San Francisco. Miami signed Jonnu Smith, who started 78 NFL games in his 7 seasons and contributed 21 touchdowns on his 219 career receptions. Smith's known for his run after the catch skills and his ability to threaten seams like a receiver. The Dolphins also added Jody Fortson, a former college receiver, spent the past 5 seasons serving as Travis Kelce's understudy in Kansas City when he was healthy, which wasn't often. Beckham, Smith, and Fortson provide McDaniel 3 new weapons that could diversify his offense, strengthening formations that were weak, and enhancing Miami's red zone and goal-to-go package because all 3 possess skill sets like the ability to high-point balls and catch tough passes in traffic that were missing from last year's team. Their addition, along with selection of tailback Jaylen Wright and receivers Malik Washington and Tahj Washington, should give the Dolphins a more well-rounded offense, one that has an endless supply of packages that should challenge opposing defenses. Look at this offseason's improvements as Miami, which had the top-ranked offense last year in yards produced at 401.3 yards per game and second in points scored at 29.2 per game, strengthened weak areas of a chain-link fence. Beckham likely inherits the 545 snaps on offense that Cedric Wilson Jr. took as a number 3 receiver, and it's possible Beckham could supersede Braxton Berrios and River Craycraft in the receiver pecking order. No, it's not possible. That is it. Add all of those snaps up, and there's potential for Beckham to play just as much as Hill, who played 695 snaps despite missing 1 game because of injury. Clearly, he's not going to handle that many, but it's there for the taking. Beckham will at least improve the snaps that feature Hill and Waddle taking a breather or when they are sidelined by injuries. Smythe, who has primarily been a blocker most of his 6-year career, handled more offensive snaps than any other skill player, edging out Hill with 785. Smith's addition will likely strengthen Smythe's workload, and it's safe to assume a former Florida international standout will inherit the bulk of the 343 snaps Julian Hill, a rookie, got last season as the number 2 tight end. So that's a clear upgrade at receiver and tight end if everyone stays healthy. The I formation package features an all-pro fullback in Alec Ingold, who is used for 425 and 427 offensive snaps the last 2 seasons, and a tight end. That package represents nearly 36% of the offensive snaps, so Miami's favorite formation is strengthened, and so is Miami's 12 personnel, which features 2 tight ends. There are the ace formation likely features Beckham being paired with Tyreek Hill and Jaylen Waddle, who have each worked as a slot receiver throughout their careers. Then put Raheem, Mostert, and Devin Achane in the backfield, and the Dolphins will be putting an arsenal of speedsters and playmakers on the field that would rival any team in the NFL. That means if everyone can stay healthy, McDaniel has new toys that will help the Dolphins offense continue to set the pace for offensive innovation and creativity in 2024. It'll be entertaining to see exactly how creative Mike McDaniel and Miami's high-powered offense can get now. Right? Because here's the thing. He needs answers. He needs new ways to find new answers when NFL defenses and coordinators start getting answers for what he's throwing at them. And he's 110% right. This allows them to diversify it and everything they want to do. And this is what I've talked about. Beckham's on board with playing slot. So you got him, Waddle, and Tyreek that can all play X, Y, or Z. Literally. And they're all playmakers, and they're all smart after the catch, and they're all deadly after the catch. Add in that with Achane and Mostert coming out of the backfield. Man, you got a recipe for an opponent's disaster. Let's be honest here. Let's be honest. Now, let's look at the flip side of OBJ, because there's one AFC executive that was low-key kind of trashing this ad. So, from Yahoo here, what are Dolphins getting in Odell Beckham Jr. report contract hints at his value. The NFL's annual tradition continued Friday when another playoff contending team agreed to terms with Odell Beckham Jr., but the terms of the deal spoke to why this year is different from last. Barely a year after the Baltimore Ravens signed Beckham to a deal worth $15 million guaranteed, the Miami Dolphins are signing him to a deal worth $3 million guaranteed per multiple media reports. Incentives reportedly could bump the deal to about $8.25 million maximum. To say that the Dolphins view Beckham as 20% of the player he was a year ago is an oversimplification of how contract terms correlate to perception and production. But Miami makes something clear with this deal. Beckham is no longer the player who merited the New York Giants' 12th overall draft pick, nor the player who strung together the three Pro Bowl seasons to begin his career. He also isn't the player who posted 5,000-yard seasons in his first 6 years, with the final season being with the Cleveland Browns. Beckham returned from the Super Bowl ACL tear that sidelined him for 2022 season to catch 35 of 64 targets last season in Baltimore, with his 565 receiving yards ranking second and his 3 receiving touchdowns ranking fifth on the team. He caught just one pass in the Ravens' 34-10 divisional win over the Houston Texans and struggled still further in the AFC Championship game to the Kansas City Chiefs, in which Beckham caught 3 of 6 targets from Lamar Jackson for 22 yards. Even so, the Dolphins confirmed in March that they extended an offer to Beckham. Business takes time, especially with players like Odell, who's had a phenomenal career and still has really good football in front of him and has options, Mike McDaniel said on March 25th. I think those conversations will be ongoing. We'll see where they go. I don't live in the world of crystal balling, and I do stay in my lane as a coach. I'm definitely ready to coach him if we can come to an agreement. How will McDaniel coach Beckham? Perhaps the most interesting part of the news, the tantalizing potential of how one of the league's best offensive minds and most creative systems might incorporate a veteran such as Beckham. Beckham was productive in the regular season before struggling to produce in the postseason. But that was in an offense with a heavier slant towards the run and lighter emphasis on speed. Is Beckham an obvious fit to slide in with speedy threats such as Tyreek Hill and Jaylen Waddle? Some around the league questioned the decision. One NFC executive expecting to see Beckham scheme underneath as Hill and Waddle execute their vertical threats. That guy's got a good head on his shoulders. Here we go. An AFC assistant, so a rival, throughout working in the confines of another vertical threat, wouldn't play to Beckham's historical strength. It's not like he's a bigger possession type of receiver anyways. He's always been the stretch the field type of guy, the assistant coach said. I don't know why they signed him. This guy says, I don't know why they signed him. Really? We'll talk about that. Dolphins teammates, meanwhile, were excited. Jalen Ramsey posted a picture of himself and OBJ celebrating a Super Bowl victory. To McDaniel, the vision doesn't require Beckham to pace his next-gen stats record-setting teammates. Yes, we like the fast guys, but it starts at the football players. There's a lot of football players we like, and when you have opportunities at different areas of the draft, starting point isn't speed, but covering space in a limited amount of time. How fast you play on the football field when the opportunity presents itself, and Chris asked if you want to trade for Tyreek Hill, you do that. You draft players because they're football players and if they're fast. So, I don't... Who is this assistant in the AFC? Had to have been a Bills assistant who's bitter that they got Chase Claypool. Had to have been. Like, I don't know why they do that. What do you mean? First of all, he's a 4-4-3 guy. Okay, that's number one. Number two, with those type of hands and what the NFC executive said, Beckham is going to eat underneath and in the middle of the field. Beckham is going to eat in the red zone. We got a guy who can get up and high point a little bit better. I don't understand how an AFC executive is sitting here, an AFC assistant coach is sitting here and saying, you know, I don't understand the signing. Is there not to understand, bro? What is there not to understand? I don't know why they signed him. You know, like, they're basically hinting that Beckham's decline is his performance is in decline. He's on a decline, right? And they're saying that he can't change it anymore. He's done. I'm telling you, as a wide receiver 3 role, he can definitely be a game changer on third down, in the red zone, middle of the field, underneath. The fact that these people can't see that vision is very scary. Very scary. I mean, even if he gets the 565 yards that he got in Baltimore, that's a win at his cost. I mean, name a team who has a better wide receiver 3 than us right now. And if he does hit that $8.25 million incentive, this team is probably winning 14, 15 games. Let's also keep that in perspective. So, sitting here and trashing it and saying, well, I don't know why they would sign him. It's really not hard to see. Put on the game film, bruh. That'll give you all your answers. It's really not that hard. My Lord, how are some people coaching? Now, Albert Breer, this is what he had regarding everything in Odell. He said, Odell Beckham Jr.'s deal reflects his new reality. You know, and here's what he says on Odell Beckham Jr. and the Miami Dolphins. It'd be smart to follow the money. Last year, the 10-year veteran signed a deal in Baltimore at a base value of $15 million with an upside of $18 million. This year's base pay will be 20% of what he got with the Ravens, just $3 million. Now, to be sure, the fact that Lamar Jackson was in the midst of a drawn-out contract negotiation, wanted Beckham aboard, gave the receiver leverage to a bit of an overpay. So maybe that's part of why Beckham is getting so much less, but that's not the only reason. One executive from a team that's been in the receiver market and explored signing Beckham told me last week it's clear, at least to him, that the former All-Pro, after a decade in the league, and with his 32nd birthday coming in November, has lost a burst. An executive from another team who was also in the market for a receiver saw it as being a little bit more nuanced than that. I don't know if he's agree he's lost so much as that he's just got older, and that's what the market says on older players, says an AFC exec. He's not always healthy, which is part of that. By the end of the year, he looked good. His legs were back. Now, does he need to play himself back into shape? The offseason stuff being in the contract would be important for me, but you're late on that and can't put workout bonuses in now. He signed so late in Baltimore that he had to play himself back into shape. And when he did, his burst came back. And he could still do a lot of the normal OBJ stuff. But even then, the numbers weren't there. He finished with 35 catches for 565 yards and 3 touchdowns and had 4 catches for 34 yards in 2 playoff games with a league MVP at quarterback. Yeah, but that league MVP didn't even throw for 30 touchdowns. Relax. Rookie, and he didn't even throw for 4,000 yards. Relax. Rookie Zay Flowers was the top guy in the offense after Mark Andrews went down, and Beckham didn't do a ton to distinguish himself from Nelson Aguilar and Rashad Bateman, both who the Ravens have back for 2024. Bateman's on a new deal. Now, that's not to say he can't help Miami. He's different than Tyreek Hill and Jaylen Waddle, and his ability to be a physical run after the catch receiver is still there. Dolphins coach Mike McDaniel was in San Fran when the 49ers flirted with acquiring Beckham, so he's clearly had plenty of time to think about how to use him. So he's in a good place. I'd just say it'd be smart at this point to temper expectations. And no one's out here looking for him to get 1,000 yards. I'm not looking for OBJ to be a 1,000-yard receiver. This guy gives me 550 or 500 plus yards and 4 or 5 touchdowns for $3 million base. That's a win. And Mr. Success in the chat is right. Remember how he balled out with Stafford. What do you think he's going to do with that boy Tua? Think about that for a second. Just saying. Speaking of the wide receiver room, Tyreek Hill said something very interesting. Let's talk about this, and let's try and read between the lines a little bit. All right, let's look at this.
Man, I love Miami. I love every bit of it. You know, my wife loves it. The kids love it. My mom loves it, and it's just a beautiful city to live in, man. You know, it's so much stuff to do. You know, and obviously, I would like to retire in Miami.
Okay,
but we all know how the NFL is and how jobs go, and people getting promotions over here, and you know, like we understand that. But Miami's a great city, man. I love the team that I play on. I love the guys in the locker room. I love the head coach. Love the GM. So that means continue. That means sign me.
I love all you guys so much.
I love all you guys so much. I would want to stay in Miami forever, man. This is great.
Keep me there.
Keep me there.
You guys do have this.
So, a couple of interesting things here. We covered the CT ESPN report about Jaylen Waddle holding out, but I said the interesting thing here is that he had done a podcast, Antonio Brown with Tyreek. Me and Neil had heard months ago about an extension being in the works, not just a restructure, but an extension. Antonio Brown hints towards an extension being in the works. What does he say right there? Sign me. Right? Did he not just say right there, sign me? And he also said, I want to retire here, but the business side of it. So that's right there, him knowing I'm not going to see these heavy hits in 2 years on this contract. And then he even says, sign me. Literally, even says, sign me. I'm just saying. Paulie King, 305, if they don't go for a big name safety, you think they will go more O-line help and cross-train Cam to have Fuller on the outside and Cater inside? I think Cam will be looked at to play the inside and the outside. I think the O-line, I mean, you could take the two highest O-line guys out there right now, you know, Dalton Reisner, okay, and you could go sign Dalton Reisner and Greg Van Roten. You're probably not even going to spend $8 million. So you could go sign both those guys and Justin Simmons, probably, to be honest with you. Listen, OBJ, there was something key that executive was talking about. You notice? He had to play himself into shape, but once he did by the end of the season, you saw the burst coming back. I'm telling you, OBJ is going to look the best he's looked since he was a Ram. Quote me. OBJ will look the best he's looked since he was a Los Angeles Ram. And we knew how good he was in that playoff run. I mean, he scored that opening touchdown before he got hurt in the Super Bowl. He's going to look the best he's looked since he was a Ram. Watch. But back to Tyreek here. Tyreek stated multiple times he wants to retire in Miami. We get that. We got it. We're good. But the interesting thing from that is he says, sign me. And we had the AB report. We had what me and Neil had heard months ago. Starting to lean that, you know, they're legitimately talking a deal right now. Real talk. Right? Like, I think that's for real. I really do. So, It is what it is. So let's get into some more stuff here. All right, I got a couple more things for you guys I want to go over here. All right. Now let's get into this latest article from Barry Jackson. It talks about Mostert and the Dolphins adding another running back. So, even before the NFL draft, the Dolphins running back room was already deep with Raheem Mostert, Devin Achane, Jeff Wilson Jr., Salman Ahmed, Chris Brooks. So what did Mostert think when the Dolphins traded a 2025 third-round pick to Philadelphia in order to select Tennessee running back Jaylen Wright in the 4th round? My reaction at the time was, yeah, whatever it is what it is, Mostert said on Tuesday in a Zoom session with Dolphins writers. Same typical thing, draft drama pretty much all the time, regardless of position. But Mostert made clear that he embraces a new addition. I'm excited to have Jaylen come in, another Jaylen. I'll try to coach him up in this offense. I'm all about in-person experiences, people around me, and in the room. He's going to be here sometime this weekend. The more, the merrier. Speed is something we like to maximize. To have another guy come in to the mix and bring his attributes and speed is something beneficial to our offense. Mostert spoke of the intriguing possibilities of having 3 running backs with elite speed in himself, Achane, and Wright. He said, we can use 3 backs out there with a receiver and a tight end as well. A lot of things we can do in our offense with guys that have a lot of different speed. Wright will be in a uniform for the first time as the Dolphins team starts their rookie minicamp on Friday, and it's Saturday, and it's closed to the public. What I love about him is he hits his head on the goalpost after he's finished 50 to 60-yard runs, said Daniel Jeremiah. This has to be the fastest running back room in the NFL and the fastest wide receiver room in the NFL. This is a track squad. NFL Network and CBS analyst Charles Davis said Wright is skinny in traffic, which means when you're trying to tackle him, he's tough to get to, and once he gets going, he can roll. You know what I love most about him? Not a tread off the tires, not a lot of touches during his time at Tennessee. Wright ran the ball 368 times over 3 seasons at Tennessee and averaged 6.2 yards per carry. One of the positives of the Dolphins drafting developmental left tackle Patrick Paul is that he can be mentored by Terron Armstead, who takes immense pride in helping young offensive linemen develop. Armstead invites them to the Dolphins facility every Tuesday during the season for an on-field and off-field workout. It's a role he relishes. Terron's fantastic dealing with it, Chris Greer said. We felt strong that we didn't need to communicate with him on the Patrick Paul pick because he knows he's always liked taking offensive linemen. The cool thing about him is he loves to mentor these guys. He spends a lot of time and likes to pass it on to the younger guys. He will be very enthused to work with him, and we're all excited that Patrick is the right kind of person to come in and work with our group. McDaniel cracked, Terron's not worried about someone outplaying him, just like how he came from a small school and people had to invest in him. He loves paying it forward. He'll be the most excited. He might already have a jersey of his. It seems obvious to everyone that speed has been prioritized in this regime, but McDaniel adds an important caveat to all that. Yes, we like fast guys, but it starts as football players. There's a lot of football players we like, and when you have opportunities at different areas of the draft, our starting point isn't speed, but covering space in a limited amount of time, how fast you play on the field. So, and here's the full extent of what they said about Connor Williams recently. He's working on his rehab, taking care of himself, getting himself healthy. McDaniel said when I talked to him, it's more about being healthy. And there's a possibility that Williams could sit out the 2024 season because of the severity of his knee injury sustained in the Monday night game against the Titans. Miami has moved ahead with Aaron Brewer as its center. So all you talking guard, no, he's at center. So, and if you missed it, by the way, if you guys missed it, Patrick Morris, it was a whole weird thing of how he got drafted. He said, he had been getting spam calls, and you can read it here. He'd been getting spam calls, and he picked up, and nothing went through for the first few seconds when Dolphins called him, so he hung up. Then they called back, and then someone picked up. It was definitely kind of a little weird, the whole phone call, but it was just surreal. So, interesting stuff there. But listen, getting back to this stuff, Terron Armstead and Patrick Paul. Terron Armstead's already having a impact on the young man, right? And that impact is this. he's working out with O-line masterminds. And they're the best in the business, right? They're the absolute best in the business. And, you know, Duke Manyweather, he's the one who runs O-line masterminds. Taron Armstead works there. Austin Jackson started working out there. And Patrick Paul's been working with them too. So I got a feeling I like it. I'm a fan of it and what he's doing. So, continuing on here, I wanted to show you guys some interesting draft notes on Tahj Washington. And this is what they are. The Trojans kicked off the draft with Caleb Williams to Chicago, but produced only 2 other picks in the top 200. Safety Kalen Bullock went to the Houston Texans in the 3rd round, and running back Marshawn Lloyd followed several picks later to the Green Bay Packers. Lloyd was a player whom coaches tracked entering the draft, and as many felt, USC didn't fully maximize his talent. You know, they talk about the running back player is special, and they didn't utilize him enough. But the same coach that noted Tahj Washington, one of 2 USC receivers selected in the 7th round, could be a significant steal for the Miami Dolphins. Despite a smaller frame at 5'10", 174, Washington impressed with his toughness and willingness to block. Braden Rice, son of Pro Football Hall of Fame Jerry Rice, went in the 7th round to the Chargers, but USC's best receiver might be on the roster in sophomore Zachariah Branch, who finished 3rd behind Washington and Rice. He's one of the guys who makes you not sleep at night, a Pac-12 defensive coordinator said. But there you go. Right there. Right? You got coaches right there saying Tahj Washington could be a significant steal. And this is why I go back to the wide receiver room and them carrying 7. This is not as much of a lock as people want to say it's going to be. It really isn't. Tahj Washington, Eric Ezekama, and Braxton, Tahj Washington, Eric Ezekama, and River Craycraft are fighting for 6 and 7. That's going to be a dogfight. And then an update for all of you guys. Compensatory picks represent an opportunity for smart teams to plan ahead, taking advantage of league's complex formula that awards additional draft picks to teams that lose more free agents than they sign. The Dolphins are the team with the most to look forward to on the compensatory pick front in 2025. The Dolphins are projected to get 2 third-round compensatory picks in 2025, according to Nick Corte. That's because Miami lost 2 high-priced free agents in Christian Wilkins, who signed a 4-year, $110 million contract with the Raiders, and Robert Hunt, who signed a 5-year, $100 million contract with the Panthers. Those 2 contracts are each worth a third-round compensatory pick in 2025 to the Dolphins. Only one other contract in the league this offseason will net a third-round compensatory pick, and that's Kirk Cousins' 4-year, $180 million contract with the Falcons, which will yield the Vikings the highest compensatory pick in 2025. Other teams that will do well on the compensatory pick front next year are the Ravens, who will get a 4th-round pick from losing Patrick Queen, a 5th-round pick from using Jadeveon Clowney, and a 6th-round pick for losing Geno Stone and John Simpson. The Ravens have historically been the best team in the league at getting compensatory picks, and they've done it well again this offseason. So there you go. More confirmation that you can expect 2 compensatory picks in the 3rd round. I mean, the Dolphins, but they're going to have 4 picks in the first 3 rounds. We're playing next year, baby. Day 1 and day 2 are going to be fun next year. Especially when we're picking at 32, huh? Gotta love it. Gotta love every minute of it. So, listen. Smash that like button. I need each and every one of you. If you're new, subscribe. There's over 430 of you watching right now. We're on YouTube. We're not on X. We're just live on YouTube. So I appreciate all of you tuning in right now. Do me the favor, smash that like button. Subscribe if you're new. And I'm going to be back tomorrow night. I'm going to be back with, of course, Mr. Ballgame as well as Richmond Webb. On Thursday, I will be live with Neil for the schedule release around 8 p.m. And then I got some stuff coming. I'll be leaving on Friday. I'll be going out of town. But while I'm out of town, I will have at least 3 videos dropping for you guys while I'm out of town. So I still got content coming for you guys while I'm out of town. So we're not going to miss a beat here on Phinside The NFL. So I'm keeping y'all informed and educated even when I am on the other side of the world, sipping pina coladas on a beach, baby. All right? Smash that like button. Subscribe if you're new. I appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in today. As always, Fins up. The cease and desist came, so I guess go Fins. And I will see all of y'all on the next one. Until then, take it easy, everyone. Have an amazing rest of your day, evening, or night, whenever you're watching this. I'll talk to y'all soon.